Today we are going to make a part called a saddle bracket, and it looks like what you see here. And the strategy we're going to use is illustrated here. First we're going to draw a two-dimensional sketch like this, and we're going to extrude it in the third direction so we get the second image here. Then we're going to add the rounded part here. Then we are going to put a hole here and also make a extrusion through both of these parts that stick up. And eventually we'll get to this part here, which will have a fillet here. So this is our goal at the end, and we're going to start with this two-dimensional sketch. So the size of that two-dimensional sketch is a little bigger right here. So I'm just going to go back and forth between this view and Inventor and draw it, but it just looks like an F on its side. So I'm just going to draw an F on its side and then dimension later. So let's do that on the XY plane and use the line tool. We're going to make a constraint at the origin, come across, pull out horizontal. We come up 90 degrees perpendicular there, come back over here. Let's see, a little more maybe, to about right there, 90 degrees. And then we go up to maybe there, making sure it's perpendicular, over, again perpendicular, Inventor helps us. And then this one doesn't come down quite as far. Click, and just another one over there that's perpendicular to it. Click, and now watch this. So if we come up, it'll kind of tell us when we're even with the other one. And we are at 90 degrees, so I'm going to left click again and continue to here. And finally down back to where I started, left click, right click, OK. And now I'm going to start dimensioning this. Let's make sure that that's roughly what it looks like. Okay. Remember to dimension the small stuff first so that the part doesn't distort dramatically as you add dimensions. I'm going to, let's see, use a numerical dimension constraint. Let's make this 0.5. And there it is. I believe this one is also 0.5. Also, this distance from here to here is 0.75. And here to here, 0.5. And now maybe we can start adding the major features. So from here are the bigger features. Here to here is 2. Here to here is what? 3 1/4. 3.25. And finally, that's a little too tall. So we have one more dimension, and this is 1.75. And that is fully constrained. And that looks like the figure. Okay, so, oops, let's go back there. Let's go over here, and following this strategy, we're going to extrude in the third dimension. So let's finish that sketch, hit the house so we can see what we're doing. Extrude, I'm going to make this a symmetric extrusion, so like that, and I'm going to initially make this a value of, I think I'm just going to leave it, I believe it's 2, yeah. So there we go at 2, and that's our part. Now what we need to do, if we go back to our high-level overview, we've got this part here, and we want to come over here and add this little round part here. So this is going to introduce a few things that we haven't used before, so let's take a look. So we just did a symmetric extrusion. Now we're going to do a type of extrusion that will be a join, and we'll go to a plane that we select. So let's see how we can do that. Alright, so I'm going to create a sketch, and you'll notice that it's easy to select planes like here and here and here, here. If I come down and I just put my cursor in the right place, you can see that I'm going to select the bottom of it. So I'm going to click there. Now let's make sure that that plane is where we think it is. It should be on the bottom of that part, and it is. So that's just another way of selecting a plane. So we didn't have to turn that over and select the plane. We just could do it as I just showed you. What we're going to do now is that we're going to project the geometry of this edge onto that plane. And again, if I go back and I look, you can see that it's kind of green there. And so I can use that edge now on my sketch plane. Before I projected that geometry, I could not use it because it wasn't on the sketch plane. what we're going to do to make that round part out here is we're going to come along here, we're going to make a circle, and we're going to use the scroll wheel. So as we get more complex parts, we're going to find that we need to magnify it with the scroll wheel, get nice and close, and I'm going to drag it along here until I encounter the center. And Inventor is smart enough to tell me where the center is, although it seems to be not. Oh, there it was. It's kind of subtle. You see it's green? You can barely see it there. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to pull out until I get to the corner. It popped green again. Left click, right click, OK. And now I've got this circle on that sketch plane. And you might expect we're going to extrude that upward, but we've got part of the circle on and part off the part, so that's how we're going to handle that. Well, let's finish the sketch and extrude. Okay, initially it goes down. Let's take a look at the extrude dialog box. So on the top here we have join, cut. We use cut a lot, occasionally intersect, and normally we use distance for the extent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2. Well, you say 2 what? Well, you can see this little arrow has become active. It's highlighted. So I need to select the surface I want it to extrude to. So I'm going to click there, and I took it away. So what I did there was I had it on cut, but I want join. I want to join those two. So I click join, and there I have it. So that is, we did a join, extrude, and then to a selected plane. It's a little different than we've done before. Okay, now let's take a look at something that will become useful as we get more complicated parts. We're going to rename some of the features in here. So if I hover over extrusion 1, we can see what it is. I'm going to click and then click again gently, and I'm going to call this the base extrusion. And then if I hover over extrusion 2, that's the round part. I'm going to click and then gently click again, and I'm going to call that the circular underscore area. Or circular, let's see, I think I had a better name for that. Let's call that the circular end. I think that's a little better. Circular end. Alright, so we've named our feature there. Now, what we want to do, so it looks like we've got these taken care of. Let's say we're making this part and we find out that we need to adjust its dimensions. How do we do that? Well, the way we're going to do that is we're going to come to the base, and we're going to base extrusion. We're going to right click, say show dimensions. And that 3 1/4 that we had before, which was shown right here, that we initially extruded, I'm going to pretend that I made a mistake or there was a design change for some reason, and I now need to change that value to 3. So I'm going to double click on that dimension, just put in a 3 there, hit the checkbox. Then I'm going to come up here to this button that lives way up on the top here. It's called Local Update. It basically regenerates any changes we made, and I'm going to click it, and you can see that the part changed in response to that. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to place a feature. We're going to place a hole. As you can see, the original part, well, it's right here. It has a hole right here. So how do we place that hole? We're going to do that, we're going to, on the Modify panel, we're going to click Hole. And then we're going to, up here under Placement, we're going to choose Concentric. So we're going to make a hole that's concentric to this edge here. So I'm going to click the bottom plane here, and it puts a hole there. And the concentric reference becomes active. And at that point, what I want to do is click the reference, which is right here. So that's, and you can see that this hole is placed concentric to an existing circular feature, and its diameter is 0.75. And there's our hole. So we just learned how to place a feature, in this case a hole, which would have been a little more complicated and less efficient had we done it a different way, a more simplified way. All right, now we're going to extrude away this area here in the center. To do that, we're going to place a sketch plane right here. And again, you can see that the sketch plane lives right on that face there. So let's begin. I'm going to project the geometry of that face here. I do that so that when I make a rectangle that I'm going to extrude, I can come up here and that edge will be recognized. So I'm going to click here, come out, and I'm going to tell you that the size of that is 1 inch. And this part is 0.75 inches. Tab, enter. And then that was the size of it. And then to dimension it, it's at 0.5 here. And it's fully constrained. So let's finish the sketch. Now we're going to extrude this thing. Oh, it goes out that way. Well, let's go the other way. What happens? By chance it goes to the right distance, but it may have just gone to here. And then what do? We want to knock out both of those sides. Both of those pieces. So in the extents area, we're going to say all. And when I do that in this direction, this is going to extrude out all the way to the end of the universe, 13.8 billion light years away. Is that right? Something like that. But of course, we just needed to go and knock out this part of the part. And I've got that part there. So we're getting very close to the final part. And before I get going too far, I want to go ahead and rename this extrusion. So I'm going to click and then click again gently. And that one's going to be called, what shall we call that? Let's call that rectangular cut, but we'll make that a little less verbose. RECT for rectangular cut. Okay. Now at this point, we want to realize that we have a fillet here, around over. So I want to show you how to do so we did an extrude all. So we're going to make a design change and we're going to add a fillet to a sketch. I don't think we've done that yet. So to do that, what we're going to do is come again to the, let's see, I think base, and edit sketch. And now I'm going to go up to fillet here on the create, and I'm going to put 0.25 here. And I'm going to come over to this corner here and I'm going to click there. And so I added a fillet to a sketch. You can add a fillet to a sketch or to a feature, three-dimensional object. Here we're adding it to a sketch. If I finish, I get this part. And I think that this part should have a volume of 5.84. This part should have a volume of 5.841. So let's go up to right-click, Eye Properties, Physical, Update. So 5.841 would be the volume. That's how you can check to see if you made it correctly. So then to summarize, we did a symmetric extrusion initially. We did a join extrude with the extents being 2 in order to make that round area at the end. We renamed the part features in the browser to make our lives easier. And we adjusted the dimensions that were previously done by right-clicking on the extrusion, showing the dimension and changing them, and then hitting the update. And then we placed a feature, a hole, and we did an extrude all. And finally, we added a fillet to a sketch. And that will give you the saddle bracket. Thanks for watching.